Like I said before, I may not be the biggest, I may not be the strongest, but what I do works well for me. And you'll find no quitting here. So let's move on to some incline flies, okay? Usually when you're training for a contest of this magnitude, or otherwise, if it's a city, state, local, national, international, world championship, when you're this close to a contest, you've got one set of eyes that you can really trust, and that's those looking back at you in the mirror. So granted, if you have to make a certain weight class, the scale has to play an important role, but even more than that, you got to use the mirror as your guide. It's not my best friend, but I do use it as a measure of my progress. So when I look in the mirror, I know the mirror is not lying back at me, whereas I may have friends or fans that tell me I look great when I really don't. It's very hard to fool myself into believing that I look good when I don't, when I look into the mirror. So at this point in time, 3 weeks out from a show, I'm constantly trying to gauge my progress by what I see back in the mirror. Today I'm doing chest. So of course, I'm finished training my chest. I got to look in the mirror, assess my upper body, my arms, my triceps, my shoulders, my traps, my abdominals, all in relationship to my chest. Now, granted, there's a certain time of day that I pose my whole body, but right now, I've pumped a lot of blood into my chest, so I'm really swollen right now. Now's the time to squeeze it for that very last little detail and flex it all in concert with the other surrounding muscles, the delts, traps, triceps, and biceps, and abdominals. So I'm gonna be focusing on that in the mirror as I study and analyze my physique. I don't look in the mirror at admiration or satisfaction, because then you become content. And when you become content with your progress, there's somebody coming up behind you or somebody ahead of you that's working harder. They're not satisfied, and I'm never satisfied with what I see. And more often than not, 3 weeks before a show, I'm not gonna necessarily like what I see, but I realize I've only got 20 days, 19 days to improve on what I do see. And this is the stage when I wanna rip it up and cut it up. So as I look in the mirror, from my perspective, what I'm looking at isn't necessarily satisfaction in the detail or the pump or the size or the fullness, but what can I do to make it even that much more crisp, that much more tight? And that might come in the form of more repetitions on my next workout, maybe a little heavier weight, maybe a little lighter weight, maybe a little bit of a more cardio, maybe a cut back on my carbohydrates, but there's the manipulation. I and I alone can see how to change that over a period of 3 weeks. But right now, I want to see where I'm at. And chances are I'm not going to like what I see. But that's the mark of a champion, never being satisfied and always trying to be better. I told you guys earlier, I probably wouldn't like what I see when I look in the mirror 3 weeks out from a show. And that's probably more due to the fact that with 3 weeks, there's so much more I can do still. And it's satisfactory, but I need to be more ripped. And I need to hang on to the size as the weeks go along, grow closer to the show. So the object is for me from here on out is pose, pose, pose. I gotta pose every day. I've got pictures to take. Still some tanning to do. I've got to keep myself hydrated as much as possible. I've already probably drinking about a gallon of water today. My day started at 5:30 this morning. I was in the gym. I did 50 minutes of cardio, 25 minutes on the treadmill, 25 minutes on the bike. Went home and I ate my breakfast, took a shower, came here, and trained chest and filmed this video. From here, I'll go and eat some chicken and rice. And I got a photo shoot at 12 o'clock with Flex Magazine for abdominals and calves. I'll eat again after that. I'll go to the suntan bed and tan for half an hour. I'll go home and take a shower and lay down. Wake up and go back to the gym and finish doing biceps, triceps, and another 50 minutes of cardio. And my day will end right around 7 o'clock, just enough time to catch about an hour of the football game on Monday night. And I'll probably wind up waking up at about 10 o'clock and eating some egg whites before I call it a day. And that's pretty much a typical day from here on out. Only one thing will change between now and the show, and that is I'll cut back gradually on my cardio as my show gets closer. So right now I'm doing 50 minutes twice a day. Next week it'll probably be down to 30 minutes twice a day, and the last week I won't be doing anything. But every day I'll be posing. So with 3 weeks left to go, we'll see what happens when we get to New York City, baby. All right, peace out. All right. Final countdown, baby.
Shawn Ray. With their Shilcon. Ernie Taylor. Mike Wheeler. Dorian Yates is not competing because of his injured tricep that he...
The question was, when Dorian withdrew from the contest, was that a motivating factor for me? I was competing in this contest long before Dorian won the Night of Champions back in 1990-91. So no, Dorian wasn't my motivating factor getting ready for this contest. And what's he gonna look like? This time I didn't have to worry about what any of the competitors looked like. I had to make sure what I saw in the mirror was exactly what the judges would see on the day of the show. And so far, up to this point, I'm very pleased with my progress. And I was injury-free, and I trained a lot longer for this show, but the motivation didn't come from Dorian not being here. The motivation came from me trying to fulfill my destiny, and that's to be the next Mr. Olympia.
Shawn, who wins the Mr. Olympia this year?
I hope it's the best guy that wins the Mr. Olympia. I've always hoped that. This is my 10th Olympia. I've always said that the best guy should win. I think there's been some controversial decisions, but there's always going to be controversial decisions when it's a subjective sport and it's a matter of opinion. But hopefully this year, without a standard, the most complete physique will represent the world of bodybuilding.
And were you more encouraged this year than ever before?
I was more encouraged because I wasn't competing and training for a certain standard to compete against. And since none of us knows what that standard is, we've all got the same kind of enthusiasm and excitement to hope and pray that it's us that they're looking for, namely me.
That's it. Cool.
Okay, I'm here in New York. It's Saturday, October the 10th, the big showdown. My 10th appearance at the Mr. Olympia. So my expectations as of now is, of course, to be called out in the first call out. That's important. I weighed 212 pounds when I arrived here in New York City. By the time I hit the stage, I hope to be about 215 because I've been putting more carbohydrates back into my system, and over the last 24 hours I've been dehydrating my water. So there's a small manipulation, that's a timing thing, but I've been monitoring what I look like in the mirror, whether I should drink a little bit, cut out a little bit, eat more carbs. And when I say carbs, I'm eating sweet potatoes and dry baked potatoes, and I like to eat dry oats with baby food and bananas, something sweet there. I won't tell you all of my secrets, but it seems to help fill me out a bit, and I drink small quantities of water with each carbohydrate meal, but I'm not drinking a lot because I'm trying to excrete more water than I take in at this stage. I got about 2 hours before I hit the stage, and so once this interview is concluded, you won't hear anything from me until after the finals. And of course, the main thing about winning the Mr. Olympia, my whole journey to this contest, has a whole lot more to do with coming full circle. I've been in the top 5 for the past 8 Mr. Olympias. My first one, remember, I started at 22 years old in my first Olympia in 1988, 10 years ago. I was 13th place, which means I wasn't there in the final ceremonies to get a ribbon around my neck, shake Joe Weider's hand, do the final pose down. That was my first experience to the Mr. Olympia. Since then, I managed to stay in the top 5, and I've been 5th once, I've been 4th twice, I've been 3rd 3 times, and I've been 2nd twice. So even though to the average bodybuilder, that's signs of success, to the competitive bodybuilder, the one that's trying to be number 1, at the end of the day, I want to have that Sandow trophy sitting on my fireplace and the gold medal wrapped around my neck, and the sense of coming full circle. So I'm almost there. My mind and body and spirit are one right now. I feel highly confident, and I think that confidence came from my preparation for this show. So regardless of the outcome, not setting myself up for defeat, there's nothing that I can actually go back and say I should have done this, and if I had only done that. My preparation has been spot on, my focus has been right there, but my main focus is to get that trophy so that we can mainstream and commercialize bodybuilding as a whole and as an industry, so we can get some public recognition to encourage other bodybuilders to do the same and follow in that footsteps of win the contest, now promote the contest. So this has a special significance for me to actually be number 1, not number 2 or number 3. And to do that, I realize that I'm up against the best in the world, not taking anything away from Kevin Levrone and Flex Wheeler and Nasser El Sambadi, all of which have been second in the Mr. Olympia. But none of them have the experience that I have. None of them have followed the journey that I followed. And I think none of them have earned it and paid their dues the way I have. I'm the veteran of the group. This is my 10th Mr. Olympia. And in my mind, I've earned it and I deserve it. And I'm coming here to get it. So we'll see you in a little bit, and hopefully we'll have some good news for you. Enjoy the ride. Mr. Olympia, Sergio Oliva. Mr. Olympia, Vince Taylor right here. Co-MCs tonight. Two legends, all right. Hey, this is Larry Scott over here, the first Mr. Olympia. All right. Thank you. Kevin Levrone, the Maryland Muscle Machine.
The man with class.
Well, I'm back in California. It's the day after the Mr. Olympia, and as you know, with every start there's got to be an ending, and this seems to be the end. We've come to the conclusion of our video. Just to recap what's taken place over the past 12 weeks, I started out at 232 pounds. I dieted down for 12 weeks, and going into Saturday afternoon's prejudging, I was the heaviest I'd ever been in competition. I was somewhere between, probably by the time I hit the stage, 214 to 216 after carving up and dehydrating. And from a personal preparation standpoint, there's nothing I could have changed or would have changed or would have, yeah. And I remember back when I started bodybuilding, somebody said I was too small to ever be a professional bodybuilder. And here it is 11 years into my pro career, and every one of my workouts has been fueled with that one comment about somebody telling me what I couldn't do. So with all the compliments received throughout the year and all the pats on the back in the gym, we remember the one negative comment that the one competitor or enemy has made about us, and we use that to energize our workouts. I think Ronnie Coleman said it quite candidly, you know, Shawn, the one thing that stuck with me was you called me 100 to 1 long shot. And I take my hat off to the new Mr. Olympia, Ronnie Coleman. Surprised me and everybody else. I mean, the guy came in 15 pounds heavier and was hard and dry. He'll be a worthy champion. In the end, after all of my hard work, I wanted to walk away with the Sandow Trophy more than anyone. And I walked away with a 5th place prize money. That's not to say that I wasn't the best on the day. That was 12 judges' opinion for that day. And if you polled the audience, you might come up with a different champion. And I understand the dynamics of professional bodybuilding, so that I couldn't personalize and internalize a 5th place defeat. For me, it was a 5th place victory. I'm one of 5 of the top best physiques on the planet Earth, and have been for 9 straight years. I have nothing to hold my head down about. I'm in good company, losing to Flex Wheeler and Ronnie Coleman, and sharing